The equipment you need to perform a fractional distillation is shown here. You will need a heating controller and heating mantle, a fractional distillation column, and a distilling head. The fractional distillation column is prepared using the wider of your two condensers. Introduce 2 to 3 small pieces of glass tubing into the bottom of the column to plug the end, and then fill the column with glass beads. You will also need a condenser and vacuum adapter, a thermometer adapter and thermometer, as well as 2 round bottom flasks for distilling and receiving. You will need a funnel to transfer the liquid to be distilled to the distilling flask. You will also need 2 pieces of water hosing, copper wire, and pliers. The apparatus should be assembled starting with the appropriate sized round bottom flask and working outwards towards the receiving flask. Start assembling the apparatus by fitting the appropriate sized round bottom flask into the heating mantle. When selecting flask size, remember that the flask should only be about 2/3 full of the liquid to be distilled. It is useful to support the heating mantle on a wooden block so that heating may be discontinued immediately. Also note that clamping of the round bottom flask becomes essential if the heating mantle is to be removed. Using a funnel, transfer the liquid to be distilled to the distilling flask. Remember that the distilling flask should only be 2/3 full of the liquid to be distilled. A boiling stone must be added to the cold liquid to ensure smooth distillation and prevent bumping. Never add a boiling stone to the heated liquid, as you will run the risk of releasing large amounts of vapor at once. Also note that the pores of a boiling stone fill with the liquid as soon as boiling ceases, therefore boiling stones cannot be reused. A fractionating column filled with glass beads is then fit into the mouth of the distilling flask. The glass beads provide the large surface area necessary for the multiple condensation, revaporization processes of fractionation. Make sure to secure the fractionating column in place with a clamp. Then place the distilling head into the top of the fractionating column. Using a neoprene fitment, insert the thermometer into the thermometer adapter. Then place the thermometer adapter with thermometer into the top of the distilling head. Then fit the condenser onto the sidearm of the distilling head and secure it using a clamp. The water hoses have been securely fastened to the condensing column using copper wire and a pair of pliers. This prevents the water hoses from flying off during the distillation and getting everything wet. The hose on the right end of the condenser is attached to the tap for water input, whereas the hose on the left end of the condenser is put in the sink for water drainage. It is useful to use a wooden block or lab jack to support an ice bath in which the receiving flask will sit. A vacuum adapter is then fit onto the end of the condenser, and a receiving flask is attached to the vacuum adapter. The ice bath is then positioned so that it both supports and cools the receiving flask. Note that the water running through the condenser only needs to be a gentle stream in order to keep the condenser cool. Once a gentle stream of cool water is flowing through the condenser, you can then plug in the heating mantle into the heating controller. Then turn the heating controller to the appropriate setting to begin heating the distilling flask. Don't forget to lower the sash of the fume hood.